You're about to enter a world of darkness and fear. Welcome to Into the Abyss, where the unknown awaits. The universe is a vast and mysterious place. It holds wonders beyond our comprehension. But it also harbors shadows, dark corners where fear takes root. Tonight, we journey into 3 such corners. Prepare yourself for tales that will chill you to the bone. Sarah scrolled through her video feed, a sense of unease settling upon her. Her friend Emily beamed back, her face frozen in a cheerful grin. Emily had uploaded the video hours ago, yet she hadn't responded to any messages. The cheerful grin now seemed off, almost predatory. A shiver ran down Sarah's spine. Something wasn't right. Then, she saw it. Emily's face staring back at her from the mirror. A sudden flicker on the screen, a burst of static, and the video jumped. Emily's smile widened, becoming grotesquely exaggerated. The background, once a brightly lit room, darkened, shadows stretching and contorting. Fear, cold and sharp, gripped Sarah. She tried to look away, but her gaze remained locked. The glitch continued, bringing an eerie presence that disrupted reality, leaving her questioning what was real. The video flickered again, the static intensifying. When the image cleared, Sarah gasped. Emily was gone, replaced by a horrifying secret that was meant to stay hidden. The room lay in shambles, furniture overturned, walls splattered with something dark and viscous. And in the center, a single phone, its screen cracked, reflecting a distorted image of a wide, grotesque smile. Section 5. Story 1. The Glitch. Rewind. Sarah's heart pounded as she frantically shut down her computer. She had never seen anything like it before. The screen had flickered, and then a series of disturbing images flashed before her eyes. It was as if the computer had a mind of its own, showing her things she never wanted to see. She stumbled back, her mind reeling. Was it a prank? She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The images were too vivid, too real to be a simple joke. Her hands trembled as she tried to make sense of what had just happened. A horrifyingly realistic deep fake? The thought crossed her mind, but it didn't make her feel any better. If someone had gone to such lengths to create this, what was their motive? And why target her? Questions swirled in her head, each one more unsettling than the last. She didn't know, but the image was seared into her mind. It was as if it had been burned into her memory, a haunting reminder of the unknown terror she had just witnessed. She couldn't escape it, no matter how hard she tried to push it away. Later, when she finally dared to turn her phone back on, she found a new video from Emily, uploaded just moments ago. Her heart raced as she opened the message, dreading what she might find. Emily was her best friend, but this didn't feel like something she would do. It was a simple message. "Did you like my video?" The words sent a chill down her spine. Emily's voice sounded different, almost mechanical. It was as if someone or something had taken over her friend's identity. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. The ending needs work, don't you think? The message continued, leaving Sarah in a state of utter confusion and fear. What did it mean? Was this some kind of twisted game? She felt a sense of dread wash over her, realizing that this was far from over. The glitch had only just begun and she was caught in its sinister web. Suddenly, the glitch rewound, taking her back to the beginning. But this time the terror was even more palpable. The images were sharper, the sounds more menacing. Sarah felt as if she was being pulled deeper into a nightmare she couldn't escape. Welcome to Rewind. Section 6, Story 2, The Follower, A Midnight Stroll. The city slept, blanketed in an eerie silence, broken only by the rhythmic click of Daniel's footsteps on the deserted sidewalk. He enjoyed these late-night walks, the solitude a welcome escape from his hectic life. But tonight, a prickling sensation on the back of his neck, a feeling of being watched, shattered the peace. His peaceful walk turned into a nightmare as he realized he was not alone. Section 7, Story 2, The Follower, Footsteps in the Dark. He quickened his pace, his senses on high alert. The feeling intensified. He could hear it now, faint but distinct, another set of footsteps mirroring his own. Each hurried step he took was met with an answering echo from behind, growing louder with each passing second. Fear coiled in his gut, urging him to run as the footsteps grew louder, the sense of dread becoming overwhelming. His breath caught in his throat. He couldn't take it anymore. He whirled around, ready to confront the unknown, his heart pounding against his ribs. But there was no one there. The street stretched before him, empty and silent. He was alone. Or was he? Just as quickly as it had appeared, the follower vanished, but the dread remained. Daniel stood there for a moment, chest heaving, trying to rationalize his fear. He convinced himself it was just his imagination, the city playing tricks on him. He turned to continue his walk, but froze, his blood turning to ice. Scrawled across the sidewalk in front of him in what appeared to be dripping red paint was a single word: faster. The fear lingered, leaving him in a state of constant anxiety. It started subtly, a faint scratching sound behind her bedroom wall, easily dismissed as an old house settling. But night after night, the sound persisted, growing louder, evolving into something more sinister. Now, as Amelia lay in bed, fear clutching at her throat, the whispers grew louder, urging her to seek the source of the haunting voice. Section 11. Story 3. The Voice in the Walls. Seeking the Source. Driven by a mixture of terror and morbid curiosity, Amelia crept closer to the wall, pressing her ear against the cold plaster. The whispers intensified, becoming clearer, but the language remained unintelligible, a string of guttural sounds that sent shivers down her spine. She knew she should run, call for help, but an unseen force held her captive. As you seek the source, seeking the source takes you deeper into the mystery, where every shadow hides a secret. Section 12. Story 3. The Voice in the Walls. Trapped. The whispering voice abruptly ceased, replaced by a deafening silence that amplified her fear. Amelia stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat, as if the very air around her had thickened, making it impossible to breathe. The room, once familiar and safe, now felt like a sinister trap, closing in on her with every passing second. Then a slow, rhythmic tapping began on the other side of the wall, like fingernails drumming on the plaster. Each tap seemed to echo through the room, reverberating in her ears and sending shivers down her spine. It was as if the walls themselves were alive, communicating in a language of dread and despair. Amelia's blood ran cold as she realized the tapping was in perfect sync with the frantic beating of her own heart. The realization struck her like a bolt of lightning, paralyzing her with fear. She could feel her pulse quicken, and with it, the tapping grew more insistent, more demanding, as if it were feeding off her terror. She was trapped in a nightmare, her terror feeding whatever lurked on the other side. The room seemed to shrink around her, the walls pressing in, suffocating her with their oppressive presence. She could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears, a relentless drumbeat that matched the tapping on the wall. Desperation clawed at her mind, urging her to flee, but her legs felt like lead, rooted to the spot by an invisible force. Amelia's eyes darted around the room, searching for any sign of escape, but there was none. The shadows seemed to dance and twist, mocking her plight. She could feel the presence on the other side of the wall, a malevolent force that thrived on her fear. It was as if the very essence of the room had turned against her, conspiring to keep her trapped in this nightmare. Memories of happier times in this very room flashed through her mind, a stark contrast to the terror she now faced. The laughter, the warmth, the sense of security, all of it seemed like a distant dream, shattered by the relentless tapping and the oppressive silence that followed. She tried to scream, to call for help, but no sound escaped her lips. It was as if the room had stolen her voice, leaving her mute and helpless. The tapping grew louder, more insistent, each beat a cruel reminder of her entrapment. With trembling fingers, Amelia reached out towards the wall, her hands shaking uncontrollably. She could feel the cold, unyielding surface beneath her fingertips, a stark reminder of the barrier that separated her from whatever horror lay beyond. The tapping continued, relentless and unyielding, a sinister symphony that echoed her own heartbeat. In that moment, Amelia knew that she was truly trapped, her fate sealed by the voice in the walls. The room, once a sanctuary, had become her prison, and the tapping, a cruel reminder of the terror that awaited her on the other side. Section 13, Story 3. The Voice in the Walls. Reality or Madness. The wall bulged inward, cracking under immense pressure. It was as if the very structure of the house was rebelling against its own existence, straining to contain something unseen, something powerful. Amelia screamed, scrambling back as a section of the wall crumbled away, revealing a dark, empty cavity. The darkness seemed to pulse, almost alive, as if it were a portal to another world, a world of shadows and whispers. There was no one there. The room was empty, devoid of any life or movement. The silence was deafening, pressing in on her from all sides, making her feel small and insignificant. The whispers, the scratching, the tapping, all gone. The house, which had been alive with unsettling noises, was now eerily silent. It was as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. Had she imagined it all? The voices, the sounds, the feeling of being watched? Was it all just a figment of her imagination, a product of her isolation and loneliness? Had the isolation, the old house, finally driven her mad? The thought gnawed at her, making her question her own sanity. She had always prided herself on being rational, but now, she wasn't so sure. As she stared at the gaping hole in her wall, a single sheet of paper fluttered out, landing at her feet. The paper was old, yellowed with age, and it seemed to carry with it a sense of foreboding. On it, scrawled in a shaky hand, were the words that sent a chill down her spine, making her blood run cold. "Don't worry, they can't hear you in here." The message was cryptic, unsettling, and it raised more questions than it answered. Who were they? And why couldn't they hear her in here? "Now we can finally be together." The final words were the most disturbing of all. Who was this message from? And what did they mean by "finally be together"? The implications were terrifying, and Amelia felt a sense of dread settle over her. Amelia's mind raced as she tried to piece together the puzzle. She had moved into this old house seeking solitude, a place to escape from the chaos of the world. But now, it seemed she had found something far more sinister. She remembered the old photographs and letters she had found in the attic, remnants of the previous occupants. They had seemed like ordinary people, but now she wondered if they had experienced the same horrors she was facing. One diary entry had stood out to her, written by a woman named Margaret. It spoke of strange noises, of feeling watched, and of a presence in the house that couldn't be explained. Amelia had dismissed it as the ramblings of a lonely woman, but now, she wasn't so sure. The gaping hole in the wall seemed to beckon her, as if it held the answers she sought. But she was afraid of what she might find. The darkness within it was impenetrable, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her from within. She reached out a trembling hand, hesitating for a moment before touching the edge of the hole. The wall felt cold, almost alive, and she quickly pulled her hand back, her heart pounding in her chest. Overwhelmed by fear and confusion, Amelia sank to the floor, her mind racing with questions. What was happening to her? Was she truly losing her mind? Or was there something more to the house than she had realized? Determined to find answers, she stood up, her resolve hardening. She couldn't let fear control her. She had to uncover the truth, no matter how terrifying it might be. She spent the next few hours searching through old books and documents, hoping to find some clue that would explain the strange occurrences. The more she read, the more she realized that the house had a dark history, one that had been hidden for years. An old newspaper article caught her eye. It spoke of a family that had lived in the house decades ago, a family that had mysteriously disappeared without a trace. The article hinted at foul play, but no evidence had ever been found. As she read the article, a sense of dread washed over her. Could the disappearances be connected to the strange occurrences she was experiencing? The thought was terrifying, but she couldn't ignore the possibility. With renewed determination, she decided to confront whatever was lurking in the house. She couldn't let fear control her. She had to uncover the truth, no matter how terrifying it might be. As she walked towards the gaping hole in the wall, she felt a sense of dread, but also a sense of purpose. She was no longer a victim. She was a seeker of truth, and she would not rest until she had uncovered the secrets of the house. She reached out to touch the wall once more, this time with a sense of determination. She would face whatever was lurking in the darkness, and she would find the answers she sought. As she peered into the darkness, she felt a sense of resolve. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead, and she would not be deterred. The truth was within her grasp, and she would not stop until she had uncovered it. With a deep breath, she stepped into the darkness, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The journey would be difficult, but she was determined to see it through. The truth was out there, and she would find it, no matter the cost. Section 14, Conclusion, Sweet Dreams. The universe is full of wonders, but also unspeakable horrors. These stories are but a mere glimpse into the abyss that surrounds us. So the next time you're alone in the dark, remember these tales. Listen closely to the whispers in the shadows. You never know what malevolent presence might be lurking just out of sight. Sweet dreams. If you enjoyed these spine-chilling tales, be sure to like and subscribe for more journeys into the abyss. As the night comes to an end, Sweet Dreams leaves you with a lingering sense of unease, wondering if the terror is truly over.